Hello and welcome. My name is John Burns, and I am President of Hospitality Technology Consulting, which is based in Scottsdale, Arizona, in the United States. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this edition of Hospitality Net Insiders, a series of conversations with leaders in the global lodging industry. Today, I'll be talking with Alexander Alt. Alex is Senior Vice President and General Manager of Oracle Hospitality. I'm genuinely pleased to be able to discuss the current and future situation in the hotel technology and in the lodging industry more broadly with Alex, not only because of his leadership role at Oracle Hospitality, but equally because of his experience in other parts of his career. Previous to this, he was at one point Senior Vice President, Global Development and Strategy for Rosewood Hotels. And he's also been president of Sabre Hospitality Solutions, the largest reservations representation company in the world. So Alex has been around the block. He has seen the global hotel industry from a variety of perspectives, and I am really pleased that he has agreed to join this conversation. Alex, welcome.
Thank you, John. Great to see you.
And it's good to see you. Good to be here with you today. Let me kick off this conversation. We're going to be very interactive, but let me kick it off by thinking about the pandemic and what it has done to our work environment. So, Alex, your background would suggest you're in a home office, and I know you are. The company, Oracle Hospitality, is headquartered in Columbia, Maryland. You're leading the company from Dallas, Texas. What is it like leading a company remotely? You've been in office situations, hotel situations. For the first time, you're remote. You're dealing with a big team all over the world. How does it work?
Yeah, well, let me start, John, by saying I have always been one of those old school in the office people. So this is an even bigger leap than you might have guessed. I'll also say that I had the amazing benefit now in hindsight of having, I started in November of 19, so I had really about 4.5 months of what I'll call traditional operating model. So I was spending a couple of weeks a month in Colombia, and I was spending the remaining 2 weeks of the month traveling all over the world, meeting customers and team, etc. So I have to say, I can't imagine having started this job in this remote environment. I feel sorry for people who have started new roles over the last 18 or so months in this environment, but I did have the benefit of getting to interact with my team and most of our customers during that first 4 or 5 months in role. I will say there are a couple of things that I have a couple of practices that I have adopted that really help this remote operating model, John. And the first, and I call it my oxygen, is I have a daily Zoom call with my team. 5 days a week, we convene in the morning and we talk about major things of importance from the previous day and things of importance for the upcoming day. It's a way for us to stay synchronized, aware, and aligned. Another thing I did during the pandemic is I did, let me see what I did. Yeah, I did weekly all hands calls, if you can believe it. So once a week, I got on with anybody in the company who wanted to join just to let them know what was going on. And then later on, we let them vote after about a year of that, is weekly too frequently. And they voted and they said, we think monthly is good. So we now do them monthly. But it was just a way to keep the team informed during a high stress period where you're not getting some of those chance interactions and encounters that you might otherwise get. So those are a couple of tactical items, John. And then the last thing I'd say is we had the fortune of doing a lot of team building with the organization before we went into lockdown mode. So we had a chance to collectively align on what our mission and vision and values were as an organization. And being able to lean on those core tenets during the pandemic when you're not getting to see each other face to face has been very helpful. So, but I'm curious, John. You know, you've been traveling about the world yourself for most of your career. What have you been doing? How have you been working in this environment?
It has been a change, no question. I love being on a flight. I'm happy to be in an aircraft seat. My problem now is that there's no one to fly to meet. Almost everyone I deal with is at home rather than in office. So it's a change. It's been an adjustment working with Zoom and its peer systems. But now I will tell you, after at one time thinking I'd never want to use a video phone, talking to somebody over a phone without having a picture seems shallower, less fulsome. So it's been an interesting adjustment. I have talked to a lot of executives about how you keep a team together when you can't be face to face. No question, there's something special when you can be with somebody. Just that communication, that sense of agreement, and being able to understand what the seen and unseen messages are. That said, it's remarkable how we have adjusted. I've been surprised talking to people, their satisfaction with their staff, that they changed so quickly, that overnight we went from everybody in the office to everybody distributed around the country, around the world, and people really, really wanted to make it work, and it has worked remarkably well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think all things considered, I do believe you saw this summer in particular in the United States that pent up demand to get together. I have to tell you, my team will be physically together, 100% of the team physically together next week for the first time ever. And that's partly because we've had a few changes and new additions since we went into lockdown. So I have to tell you, John, I'm so excited about that, and getting to spend some time together and a little bit to talk about work, but more of it just to get to know people on a personal level, which is just hard because, when you're scheduled for these Zoom calls, there's not a lot of in between, and you tend to be pretty efficient and you're grinding them out all day. So having some time with the team in a social setting is going to be awesome.
I'm hearing people say my conversations on Zoom have changed. I now ask, how are you? I'm concerned about how the person's feeling, whether they are stressed, how we work through human issues as much as company issues. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, I think that's harder to do on Zoom. We've tinkered with some happy hours and virtual happy hours and things of that nature. But again, I'm going to go back to my oxygen, that daily check-in where you're seeing folks every morning and getting a chance to do a little bit of around the horn and hear how things are going, has been critical to our survival and thriving during these last 18 months.
So we've got companies that are functioning now, often with Zoom or its counterparts. Companies that are facing a lot of new challenges. In many cases, when I talk to people, they say, I've got fewer staff. At the same time, I've got more pressure to produce. We need things fast. Are you feeling that same sort of pressure to perform and a challenge to get things done quickly at Oracle Hospitality?
Absolutely. But I will say, John, I feel it more from my customer than I do at Oracle Hospitality. I'll say that during the pandemic, we actually added development resources here. So we saw it as an opportunity to play offense in a time when many of our competitors were playing defense. So we're blessed to be a part of a large enterprise that's got significant resources. And we felt like if we can be investing and assist our community of customers in coming back faster and better, that was the best thing that we could do. When we think about our customers and how they've been impacted, I use the term do more with less. And it is not more prevalent, in my opinion, in any industry out there than it is in ours. And I say ours, and for Oracle Hospitality, that's hotels, food and beverage, cruise lines, casinos. I mean, it has been brutal. And to do more with less, as you know, how our industry is structured, it's the case at the corporate entity level for the large brands that are doing more with less and significantly less staff than they entered the pandemic with. But It's the same thing at at the property level. So it's stressful. I will selfishly point to technology. I mean, if you look back over the course of history and the industrialization of the world, technology has historically and continues to be the primary driver of productivity, and it's an enabler of efficiency at the operating level. Now, I'll say in parallel that the human element of hospitality is what makes this industry so fantastic. But I do believe that technology has been and will continue to have to be an enabler of efficiency, because if you read the studies, the number of individuals that left the industry in the pandemic is staggering. And unfortunately, many of them left forever. And you know, we're part of many of the same industry organizations, and you hear about the staffing challenges in organizations domestically like American Hotel and Lodging Association that are advocating on behalf of the industry to help get workers back in these properties. But I think it's going to be a combination of getting workers back and leveraging technology to deliver the types of guest experiences that guests expect.
I couldn't agree more with you. One thing you said really clicked for me, and that was technology as a driver of progress in hotels. And that made me think of an automobile and someone with their foot on the accelerator. And we've been driving at a modest pace, a modest speed for a long time. And my sense is that the foot pressed down hard on the accelerator over the last 18 months. There's really been a move to make things happen faster. I've been fascinated to watch the adoption of cloud-based technology. So hotels and hotel brands saying, you know, we've been talking about this forever, let's do it. And also, in addition to adoption of an existing technology, really an interest in new things. And here I'm thinking in particular of anything that under the banner of contactless. So suddenly our customers in the hotel business, because I work for hotel brands and you work for hotel brands servicing their needs, are saying, I need things quickly. And I'm ready to change. I'm ready to think about new ideas that have been, you know, sort of in the background in the past. Now they are front and center. Absolutely.
And I think you described it appropriately, a moderate pace. The industry has been known for its moderate pace. And certainly this pandemic forced a pace of change that was not typical of the industry. I always use the example of we had a customer launch a mobile check-in, check-out capability, and pre-pandemic, that probably would have been a 12 to 18-month project, as frightening as that sounds. And with our assistance and some hard work on their own, of course, they launched it in 2 or 3 months. And those types, I mean, that's not a 10% reduction in project timeline. I mean, that's a fraction of what they would have taken to do it. But it's amazing. They say necessity is the mother of invention. And in this case, necessity to quickly pivot and accommodate the type of experience, particularly around mobility and contact free, that guests were looking for, certainly in the heart of the pandemic. It'll be interesting to see. Certainly some of that's here to stay. Some of it will pivot back to a more traditional model. But the demand on hoteliers to pivot fast, and keep in mind, that was at the time when many of the properties were down staff, many of the corporate entities were down staff. So it was impressive to see, and I think the hotel companies learned a lot about themselves and their ability to move faster. So my hope, John, and expectation is that the industry is shifting gears into a different gear in terms of pace of innovation and change. And you know, you mentioned that you've You've been watching the migration to cloud-based solutions. For us, it's part of the huge transformation that's underway at Oracle Hospitality, is shepherding the industry into the cloud for increased performance, improved security, the ability to innovate, lower total cost of ownership. So it's been great to see, and it's been great to see that acceleration through the pandemic. And certainly as we start to emerge, we think it's only gonna get more. It's only going to speed up. That migration to modern cloud-based technologies is only going to increase.
I think it's important that we're speeding up. And I say that because I think our customers are changing, our guests. I look out and say, short term, we've gone from commercial travelers being, in many cases, the majority of guests at a hotel, to being totally absent. It's now all leisure. Our leisure guests are looking for recognition and experiences. They want to make sure that we understand them and we know them. So CRM, the customer relationship management. I think the world that we're looking at in 2022, 2023 is going to be different, and we're going to have to read it and then react quickly. So the speed to react, I think, is good. Do you see the marketplace and our guests looking different in the next couple of years?
Well, I think you certainly have seen the leisure traveler dominating the comeback in the early phase of the comeback. I'm a strong believer that business travel will recover. Whether it recovers to its full pre-pandemic levels, I think remains to be seen. I've adopted a thesis early in my career, which is never bet against the consumer. So if the consumer wants to interact in different ways with the property via a mobile device, via less interaction, the hotel community has to be ready to provide that type of interaction for the consumer. I do believe that it's about providing choice and not dictating a certain type of interaction, but for sure, what the consumers have experienced in the pandemic with the ability to leverage smartphones to check in, check out, make payments, interact with property staff, that is absolutely here to stay as not as a method of hotel and hotel associate to engage with guests. And I think that's here to stay. I also believe that good old fashioned welcoming with a handshake or a warm open arms welcome is going to return as well. And in some cases never left. I've traveled quite a bit throughout the pandemic, John, and boy, it was nice and refreshing to see just how happy hotel staff was to welcome someone back. Now, it's ironic, given that my company spends a lot of money and provides technology that allow for mobile check-in, mobile check-out, mobile payments, guest engagement via smartphone. I don't use that because I want to talk to the front desk. I harass the front desk. I make sure there's not a line, but better believe, regardless of whether it's one of a hotel using our solutions or somebody else's, I spend as much time as I can interacting with the front desk, asking them what solutions they use, what they like about them, what they don't like about them. And certainly during the pandemic, I noticed just in many cases, an overwhelming welcome back because the hotel associates were so excited to see people traveling again. I don't know, what kind of experience have you had? I mean, I know you've been on the road a little bit over the course of the pandemic. What did you experience with hotel staff?
The same emotional welcome. So but at the same time, a lot of uncertainty. When we were operating hotels with fewer staff, whether the restaurant's going to be open or closed, whether the bar's open or closed, whether there's housekeeping, and whether it's going to be the same tomorrow as it is today. Uncertainty.
Yeah.
But without a doubt, we're becoming more immersed in technology. And we, as guests, are expecting to message the front desk. We're using QR codes. There was a time when it was high tech or high touch. That was a dilemma. You had either one or the other. Now I think it's high touch enabled by high tech. So technology in the background, as we've discussed. I'd be interested in getting your opinion on one aspect of the technology. We're progressing everywhere, but I have been fascinated to watch connectivity between systems. There was a time when you bought a system, and if you wanted it to hook to something else, interface to something else, it was a major undertaking. So now, over the last few years, we've seen the emergence of APIs, application programming interfaces, which theoretically give us the chance to do system-to-system connections and sort of build our own technology for the hotel or for the hotel brand. And it moved along at that modest pace for quite a while. There seems to be a real interest in APIs and what they can do to allow people to put together custom configurations of systems. Are you sensing that? Are you seeing it?
We are, for sure. And I'd say as recently as maybe 5 years ago, integration was in many cases a four-letter word. When you use that word, you had CIOs, CTOs rolling their eyes because it was challenging technically, time-consuming, expensive. And today, I'd say integration is really the linchpin for interoperability of the applications that a hotel brings to bear to serve its guests. And providing technologies that make it easy to integrate this unique and ever differentiated ecosystem of applications is something that we've been focused on here. We offer more APIs than anybody in the industry, 3,000 plus REST APIs for consumption at no cost, at no upfront cost, and it's been. Ironically, John, we've launched a brand new cloud property management system, a brand new cloud sales and event management system. We've acquired Nor1, so we now have an intelligent AI-driven upsell product. We've integrated with Oracle ERP, and yet the product or capability that has gotten the most attention from the hospitality community, coming from Oracle over my 20-ish months in the job, is our Oracle Hospitality Integration Platform. And that's these 3,000 APIs upon which our own application is built. And we have made the decision, which is not historically how Oracle operated. We've made the decision to completely expose these APIs for innovation, both by hotel companies and also by third-party application developers. And it has allowed for a pace of innovation and a pace of change. We have about 400 third-party application developers in our marketplace, and hundreds more lined up certifying as we speak. And it's here to stay. And I think turning that concept of integration from a four-letter word into something that's embraced by the industry, with the ultimate objective of better serving guests, has been a very nice and welcomed innovation.
I'd go further. I'd say it's almost a revolution, because we've gone from decades of vendors saying, you do it my way, to the possibility of putting together something my way. And that is really quite remarkable. I don't think it's played out in its full yet. I think we're still seeing where we can put together new and different combinations. But going from walled gardens to everybody's welcome really is an exciting change. I look at it and I say that's a major change, and there's something else I think is of equivalent magnitude, and that is the user interface. I'm talking to you today using a desktop computer, a big screen, but that's almost a thing of the past. I say to hotels and to vendors, think in terms of mobile first, or better, mobile only, because our customers, as they're traveling, have a handheld device. The biggest thing they have is a pad. So, I think we're going to have an interesting challenge, and really a tough challenge in the hotel business to move from desktop to miniature. Do you see that as a challenge?
I see it as an opportunity. All of our next generation products, which are all active and being rapidly adopted in the market, are mobile responsive. So they work on any kind of device. And boy, was it a game changer and a real savior during the pandemic, where I'll go back to that more is less. You had front desk agents that were also housekeepers, that were also heads of revenue management and directors of operations running all over the hotel. And to have your core operating software available on a smartphone or a tablet, as well as, the front desk computer, was something that certainly saved a lot of time. I'll go back to what I said earlier. When I'm checking into a hotel, sometimes I'll ask what they're using, John. Sometimes I'll just lean over, and more times than not, you see a green screen or a black screen with the old school font. And to me, that just screams opportunity for, and again, it's all about the industry shifting into that different gear for a more modern user interface that's going to embrace mobility more than many of the legacy solutions in the industry have. I'll tell you one thing I'm interested in, and the mobile first versus mobile only technology today is such that you don't have to pick. You can pick so that it's optimized on whatever device somebody's using.
Yep.
And that's not even new technology. What interests me is the method of interaction. So there's a lot going on in the industry today around voice-based technology. Oracle has a digital assistant and I say Oracle, I'm talking about Oracle, the parent company, has a digital assistant that's being deployed across multiple applications throughout the enterprise, including the Opera property management system. That's voice recognition, sight recognition. How about thought recognition? So I'm interested not only in the form of the device where our software is deployed, but I think we collectively need to be thinking about the means in which employees of hotels, but also consumers, interact with their devices. And it seems crazy that we'll be talking about thought recognition, but there's a lot of research out there that suggests that it is in fact on the way. So I think understanding how humans interact with these devices and how it can change rapidly is certainly a trend that I'm keeping my eye on.
I think it's an important change. Traditionally, we have not been quick enough to recognize these changes in the hotel business, I believe. I go back to the pandemic and say it's pressed the foot down on the accelerator, and that's good news. I look at the staff we employ and kids at the front desk as our waiters and bartenders and so on. They won't have patience with old technology. They want to see things change annually, maybe monthly. So we're going to be challenged to change our technology. And I think our thought processes within the hotel business, how we operate, to say our customers have changed, our staff have changed, we better change too.
For sure. And our modern applications are all